All right. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and great glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachad, Badash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that rule well, and salutations to the elect pushing this truth to the four corners of the earth in truth and in sincerity. In this particular video, we're going to talk about the Insurrection Act and what that actually means. Now, I have asked ChatGPT, what if Trump invokes the Insurrection Act? Because, there's riots and basically civil unrest in Portland. And I believe in other states as well, people standing up to ICE, in which that's like immigration enforcement. All right. And things is getting bad out there, man. Just a couple of days ago, they shot a woman that they say boxed her in with a vehicle or something like that. So, hey, it's getting bad out there. And Trump was asked, well, he invoked the Insurrection Act. He said, well, if he thinks an insurrection is happening, well, then he will invoke the Insurrection Act. All right. And the insurrection is actual violent rebellion against the government. Right now, we're seeing that. First, it was sedition among men. Sedition is the incitement, talking people, speech about rebelling against the government. Insurrection is actually the action, rebelling, violent uprising against the government. All right. And Trump is talking about invoking the Insurrection Act. As a matter of fact, 5 years ago, before he took office the second time, he was asked what he's going to do when he gets in office, and he said he was going to deploy the National Guard to certain states. And then they asked him, well, what if some of these states don't really obey you? He said, well, then we'll invoke the Insurrection Act. He said this already. So this is what we are about to see. Let's get some scriptures. Then I want to read to you what ChatGPT said. This is 2 Ezra 15. Let's start from 15 on down to 17. And we read. It says, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. That's right. And we see that happening right now, or the beginnings of that. All right. You have the MAGA crowd really showing their true colors, showing their horns against Jake, man. All right. As a matter of fact, a devil said to me yesterday, he's one of the MAGA cats. He tried to hide it, but it came out. All right. He let his horn slip out. He was like, man, we're being nice. We're being nice. And I've heard that before. When the Edomite says we're being nice and we're done being nice, that means that they're about to pick up arms. As a matter of fact, a few Edomites have said that. They're about to pick up arms and really start getting that Jake, man. And they're not even no type of enforcement. You have so-called white militia groups that are out here, and they have you Jakes on their tongue, man. They have you Jakes on their mind. All right? You have so-called white militia groups out there that want ethno-states, which means they don't want you Jake in. Okay, the Asians and shit like that too, but they really focusing on you Jake, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, man. And on the other side, you have these so-called black militia groups rising up, trying to go against the so-called white militia groups. You see? Then you got Jake getting together, black and brown pride. They're getting together saying amongst one another, it's hard to live with this white man and we should do something about it. All right? So you got a lot of things happening right now on the streets, man. A lot of Jake standing up to the authorities, man. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. Right? We are seeing sedition amongst men. Sedition is the speech, all right? The speech, the inciting, Salakia. The speech, the incitement of to rise up against the government. And sedition leads to insurrection. You see? And we're seeing them stand up against the authorities out there, man. Right? So you have Trump saying that if he sees it, he thinks it is an insurrection, he will invoke the Insurrection Act. You see? And if he does, that's basically going to be martial law, the suspension of your constitution, your so-called freedom of speech, your freedom of assembly. All right. And this is important to us, those of us that are in this truth. All right. Because we are on the internet. All right. We push out this truth. We are on the highways and byways. And he can take away your freedom of assembly. He can liken us brothers on the highways and the byways, the highways and the hedges, as a protest, as a form of protest. And some of the speech that we're going to be, saying, preaching the scriptures, telling, the people that, Esau's the wicked of the earth, and we're the true people of the Bible. And the Lord has a bone to pick with Esau and the rest of these nations, man. He got a bone to pick with Jake, but ultimately Jake is going to be coming back in that second go round, but exposing the small hats, the tiny tops, all of that. They can liken us to a hate group and a threat and take us off of the street corners. We already are on the FBI watch list. Trump is already pro-Israel, pro-Zionist. He has a pro-Israel cabinet. He already talks about if anybody denies the Holocaust, that will be considered a hate crime. And then within the same breath says that all hate crimes should be punishable by death. You see? So if you criticize Israel, he wants you put to death. He has let this leak out already. Already, pay attention. So like if I seem distracted, we have a lot going on over here. But anyway, right here it says, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. Now, paint this picture. Why wouldn't a man be able to cross the bridge? Some people live 10 minutes from the exit, of their particular city or town. Why wouldn't you be able to go into one city to another city? Because the troops will be there. That's martial law. You see? Everything will be locked down. They will impose curfews and restrictions on your movement. All right? And we see these things happening. As a matter of fact, let me get this before I get what ChatGPT said. I want to show you this. This is what happened last night. You see this? It says civil war escalates as riots in Portland rage over ICE. That's 10 hours ago. So you actually have live footage of them doing a standoff with immigration enforcement, man. Now, I don't know if the troops are out there. You see?
Yeah, and that's about it. It's a war of like stare downs. Oops, something's going on there. Automatic something or other.
You see? Trump has asked what he's going to do. Well, he's going to invoke the Insurrection Act. Now, this is what I asked ChatGPT. I said, what can Trump do with the protest if he enacts the Insurrection Act? It says, if Trump were to invoke the Insurrection Act, it would give him the authority to deploy federal troops or National Guard, which he's doing that already, forces to help restore order. All right? We know that's going to be by force. This could mean curfews, dispersing crowds, and there's videos out there of them dispersing crowds already. Them throwing tear gas and so forth and so on. Now, the only thing that needs to happen is agent provocateurs doing something against these federal troops and the National Guard. And before you know it, that can be the thing that tips everything over. That could be the initiator of the Insurrection Act. But that's neither here nor there. Continuing. And even arrest people involved in the protest. It basically gives the president a lot of leeway to handle what he might see as an insurrection or a threat to public safety. Of course, it's a pretty significant and controversial move. I said, can he suspend civil liberties as well? They put that in quotations. That's what they took out of it. It says, yeah, in certain circumstances, the Insurrection Act can lead to the suspension of certain civil liberties. For example, there could be restrictions on freedom of assembly. You see that? Basically, you know, he can say, no more than two people can be together outside. Or he can basically just say, no, nobody can protest outside. If you are standing still outside with a camera, with any face coverings, all right, talking to the people outside, he can take that as sedition, a rebellion against him, all right, and just say, no more people on the streets until he restores order. That affects us in this ministry. But we already know this is going to happen, the famine of the word. Could this be the thing that brings forth the famine of the word? We have yet to see that. But this is a pretty strong candidate, right? Continuing. Movement. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. You see that? And even speech in the interest of restoring order. So you can't even say certain things without getting that knock on the door. You see that? They already deployed AI threat detection system on the internet right now as we speak. It's called Gideon. All right, look that up. It's called Gideon, and it looks for certain patterns and also things that they will consider to be extreme. And then they'll put you into a category and try to stop you from doing a crime before you even do it. So it's actually like pre-crime. A system put in place called Gideon. All right, it says it's definitely a measure that can impact civil rights quite significantly, and it often sparks a lot of debate and controversy. I said it will basically be martial law. It says exactly. Do you see that? You see that? That was a chime in. Exactly. It would essentially resemble martial law, where military authorities take precedence over civil government functions and normal civil liberties. Basically, suspending your constitution, you have no rights. You see, might be heavily restricted. It's definitely a drastic step, and one that carries a lot of implications for governance and individual freedoms. So, hey, that's what time we're in. I hope this video was edifying. I hope you can take something from it. Please, Baba Kashah, keep your eyes on these riots and news surrounding that. You know, we're living in some exciting times. Trump is busting these moves left and right. The government is also shut down. Information was also leaked that this can be used, this government shutdown leak, to be the catalyst to start a civil war, which a civil war is prophesied. And I just touched on that a little bit in this video. But with that, I'm going to say shalom.